Let me balance you real quick. The African National Congress is heading for its 55th elective conference on the 16th of December 2022 in Nasrec. More than 4,000 branch delegates are expected to attend this conference to adopt new policies and elect new top 6 leaders and 80 members of the National Executive Committee. The top 6 positions are those of the President, Deputy President, Chairperson, Treasurer General, Secretary General, and Deputy Secretary General. Currently, Cyril Ramphosa is the President of the ANC and is seeking a second term. Titi Mabuza is the Deputy President and is also hoping for re-election to that position. Kwete Mantashe is the current Chairperson and is looking for a second term as well. Paul Mashatile is the incumbent Treasurer General and is also acting as Secretary General following the suspension of Ace Magashule, who was the elected Secretary General in the previous conference. Some members of the NEC accuse Mashatile of using that position to manipulate processes in order to advance his own political ambition to become Deputy President and propose that he step down and allow someone else to take over. But President Ramaphosa came to his defense and thwarted the calls for his removal. So Mashatile remains the acting SG and is assisted by Gwen Ramakgopa, who was deployed to the Secretary General office as coordinator following the untimely passing of Jesse Duarte, who was the Deputy Secretary General. Gwen has since put her hand up and is contesting for the position of Secretary General. If elected, she'll be the first woman to ever hold that office. Before I get into the processes of how the ANC chooses its leaders, I want to explain the whole organizational structure first, from ground up. You see, the ANC is a bottom-up organization and is divided into 4 organizational structures, namely branches, regional, provincial, and national. An ANC branch is started by community members who want to be represented in their municipal council. They come together, recruit at least 100 people to become members of the branch at a fee of 20 rands, elect PEC and register with the regional office, then become a branch. The branch level is where everything starts. As they usually say, Amandla Semasebin. Branches are the roots of the organization, excuse the pun. Members of the community who want to join the ANC join through these branches. Rule 23.1 of the ANC Constitution says every member of the ANC shall belong to a branch, which is the basic structure of the organization. So these branches in a certain district come together and make up a region. In most cases, BC members from different branches make up their respective regional leadership, which is called Regional Executive Committee, abbreviated as REC. And the regional chairperson is usually the mayoral candidate for the district municipality. The regional structure is subordinate to the provincial structure. Multiple regions make up a provincial structure and elect a provincial leadership known as Provincial Executive Committee. Most people who are elected to the PEC are usually members of the REC in their respective regions. All the people in these structures, including the national ones, are members of the ANC branches first. But the ANC Constitution doesn't allow one person to serve in leadership roles of multiple structures. Rule 21.7 of the ANC Constitution demands that a member elected to the REC shall resign from any position held in lower structures of the ANC. And Rule 17.4 demands the same from PEC members. Also, Rule 12.14 stipulates that a member who is elected or co-opted to the NEC must resign from any executive position he or she holds as an office bearer in any lower structure of the ANC. The National Executive Committee is the highest decision-making body of the ANC in between conferences. It is divided into various smaller subcommittees that research the feasibility of the adopted ANC policies and refine them where necessary. They give mandate to the ANC members of parliament on what motions to table, what bills to propose, and what position to take in parliament. But most NEC members are also MPs and cabinet ministers. This National Executive Committee is also elected during the elective conference alongside the top 6. The acting SG, Paul Mashatile, published a document of guidelines for the upcoming conference, instructing branches to start with the PGMs and nominate their top 6 and NEC candidates, and also choose the delegates who will go and represent them at the conference. According to Rule 10.1.1.1 of the ANC Constitution, at least 90% of delegates at the conference shall be from branches, elected at the properly constituted branch general meetings. The number of delegates per branch shall be in proportion to their paid-up membership. Provided that the branches in good standing shall be entitled to at least 1 delegate. The published guidelines extends this and states that a branch will send 1 delegate per 100 members and another delegate for every 150 members. So this is how the nomination process goes. Branches get a form that they will fill out with the names of their final nominees after they have deliberated and reached a unanimous decision or through consensus voting on who to nominate. The branch secretary general and chairperson sign it, seal it, and submit it to the regional office. Upon receiving all nomination lists from branches, the regions then consolidate and aggregate these nominations and send the consolidated list to the province. The province also combines regional nominations and pronounces which names the province will support in the conference based on that list. The branches have spoken, they say. As things stand, Northern Cape has nominated nominated Cyril Ramphosa as their presidential candidate and will send 239 delegates to the conference. Western Cape is allocated 283 delegates. At the time of recording this video, it is not yet clear who they are supporting. They don't even have PEC as they have not held their provincial elective conference yet. But it is rumored that the regions are divided between Cyril Ramphosa and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. Free State is expected to send 301 delegates and has also nominated Cyril Ramphosa for a second term. Northwest is sending 361 delegates and is supporting Ramphosa as well. Mpumalanga is allocated 390 delegates. They have also endorsed Ramphosa. Gauteng is sending 502 delegates, also supporting Ramphosa for a second term. Limpopo is sending 613 delegates and is backing Cyril Ramphosa for re-election. Eastern Cape is sending 684 delegates. They are also backing Ramphosa. The province that will send the most delegates is KZN, which is expected to send 877 delegates to the conference. But the province is somehow divided between Zweli Mkhize and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. Shortly after the KZN leadership announced their support for Zweli Mkhize for the position of president, Jacob Zuma wrote a public letter instructing ANC members not to support Zweli Mkhize and support Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma instead. He accused Zweli Mkhize of selling out and betraying their faction in 2017. He also raised his hand for the position of chairperson. You see, Jacob Zuma is more powerful and influential than the current KZN leadership in the province and inside the ANC as a whole, and he is prepared to use that power and influence to make sure that Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma emerges as ANC president in December. He is publicly going against the provincial leadership wishes because he knows their nominations are not binding to the lower structures. This is also clearly stipulated in Rule 101 of the guidelines, which states that branch members are not bound by their regional or provincial or league's preferred nominations or any slate circulated by their region or province or league. They can vote on their branch mandate or the majority provincial nomination or be influenced by debates and other nominations that occur at the PGM. It is also worth noting that nominations can still come from the floor at the conference, and the delegates can still vote whichever way they want, regardless of who their respective branches mandated them to vote for. This is a huge dent in the integrity of this elective conference because delegates can take bribes, betray their branches, and vote for someone else. There is no mechanism in place to police and ensure that delegates vote according to their branch mandate. So some branches instruct their delegates to take photos of their ballot papers and send them to their branch WhatsApp group to prove they didn't betray them. But those who pay bribes to buy votes at the conference also instruct delegates to take photos of their ballot paper as proof before they can pay them. So to counter this fraud, the ANC banned camera phones in the booth to protect the integrity of the election. But this is a double-edged sword because other branch members don't know how their delegate voted, and it doesn't stop people from selling their votes. Personally, I think votes must be public because delegates don't represent themselves anyway. So the ANC is going to this conference highly divided into factions and sub-factions. At first it was just divided between two factions, the RET and CR22. The RET is dominant in KZN and is leaning more to the left, demanding radical change in the economy and intensified wealth redistribution. But their problem is that they have a lot of people who are accused of corruption among themselves. So to make way for their leaders to be elected, they are demanding that the step-aside rule be scrapped completely. So they struggle to find a credible person they could field as their presidential candidate until Zweli Mkhize raised his hand. So their slate consists of Zweli Mkhize as president, Paul Mashatile as deputy president, Stan Mathabata as chairperson, Pule Mabe as treasurer general, Phumulo Maswale as secretary general, and Nomvula Mkonyane as deputy secretary general. But Jacob Zuma's determination to have Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma as their presidential candidate threw a spanner in the works. Now this camp is slightly divided into two slates, between those who support Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma and those who support Zweli Mkhize. But it is not yet clear who is on Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma's slate. At the moment, we just know that it is her as president and Jacob Zuma as chairperson. Maybe some nominations will come from the floor. On the other hand, we have CR22 Faction, also known as the Buffaloes or the Ankoles, which is supporting President Cyril Ramphosa for a second term. Even though some of them, including the president himself, are also accused of crimes, but they are pushing heavily for the renewal of the ANC and the renewal of law enforcement agencies. This faction is also determined to defend the step-aside rule and wants to cement it into the party constitution at the upcoming conference. Currently, it looks like President Ramphosa is winning the race after he was nominated by 7 out of 9 provinces. But this might change as CR22 Faction removed some people from their initial slate. Initially, their slate consisted of Cyril Ramphosa as president, Paul Mashatile as deputy president, Stan Mathabata as chairperson, Pule Mabe as treasurer general, Mtumiseni Ntuli as secretary general, and Nomvula Mkonyane as deputy secretary general. But the new slate removed some names and replaced them with new ones. For example, they removed Mtumiseni Ntuli as secretary general candidate and replaced him with Fikile Mbalula. With this change, the likely support they still had in KZN branches who supported Sihle Zikalala and Mtumiseni Ntuli at the KZN conference might be lost. They also dropped Paul Mashatile as deputy president candidate and replaced him with Senzo Mchunu. They also dropped Nomvula Mkonyane and replaced her her with Fip Potgieter for the position of Deputy Secretary General. With this change, Gauteng might revoke their promised support and back another slate that will include them. Or maybe not, because for the position of Treasurer General, they replace Pulemabe with Gwen Ramokgope, who is also from Gauteng. This might pacify them. Stan Mathabata was also removed from the slate as chairperson and replaced with Kwete Mantashe, so the Limpopo support might be out the window as well. This new but old leadership will be faced with a huge challenge because the ANC is not just fighting to stay in power, they are fighting to continue existing. They are facing a serious existential threat, and the threat is not coming from the outside but from the inside. The organization is deeply divided and corrupt to the core. As a result, they are suffering from a reputational damage and their electoral support is declining very fast. So whoever gets elected or re-elected to the top 6 and the NEC will have to hit the ground running to resuscitate and renew this dying organization and uproot corruption, even if it means arresting their own comrades. That is one of the few ways they can restore the confidence in the African National Congress. But if they fail to self-correct, then we have to take Matiba's advice and do to the ANC government what we did to the apartheid government.